Let's try this again. Let's see how the stream's doing. Come on, let's make sure this is nice. It's excellent at the moment. Let's see. I don't want this to have buffering because I want to be able to have conversations with you. Just testing, making sure everything's running. I can't really tell. I seem a bit slow. Stream is healthy. I'm a bit lagged. I'm a bit behind. So I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to get, if you're watching the stream at the moment, I'm trying to set it up so it's a bit better. I'm trying to make sure that you can see it. Cancel. I think I'm going to go, here we go. Public. Save. Okay, let's see. Just testing the stream to ensure all good. Having some technical difficulties. Just testing the stream. Right, okay. Just want to make sure we're live. And everything's running, and everything's cool. Everything's good. If you're on the chat, can you say hello, say hi, jump straight in, so I know that you're there. Just want to check everything's hokey tokey, hokey pokey. Am I live? I seem to be live. 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 Okay, guys, I'm going to jump straight into this now. Welcome to the Geek Man Cave, and today I'm talking full spoilers, The Rise of Skywalker. Thank you so much for joining me if you're part of the stream. Please comment down below. It's just me today. I had a few guests line up to come, but they kind of dropped out last minute, so it's just me. So it'll be great if we can get some conversation going in the chat so we can have a real in-depth conversation about The Rise of Skywalker. So I'm going to wait for a few people to populate the stream before I jump in and start picking apart this film. But my question of the day is, if you want to, again, comment in the comment section down below, is what was your initial feelings after watching The Rise of Skywalker? What did you feel when you were walking out the cinema? Because I normally find that gut feeling, that feeling in your mind of where you are after you finish watching the film and the journey to your car and then leaving the cinema and going home, I find is normally when you kind of find how you felt about the film. I think only The Last Jedi is one of the only films recently that I've gone to the cinema of a film I was really excited for, and I nitpicked it more than I talked about the good bits. Like Endgame, I could have lapped around my local town talking about all the things I loved. But in regards to The Last Jedi, I was there saying, oh, I like this, but yeah, why didn't they do this? Why did they do that? That's a bit strange. Why did they do this? So yeah, comment in the comment section down below. What do you think is your favourite moment, and what did you feel about The Rise of Skywalker? I'm trying to get the stream to work because I'm having difficulties my end. If you can hear me, because I can't hear me now through here. I just want to make sure. Let's have a look. I'll just test it from my phone. because I'm having buffering issues, and I don't want to be having buffering issues when you guys are trying to have a conversation with me about this film. Let me see, is anybody there? Give me a chat. Start chatting along on the chat, guys, so I know you're here. I'm going to see if I can change some of the settings, because again, my end, it is all over the place. So I just want to make sure. Can you comment in the comment section, what's the stream like for you? Who have we got watching the stream today? How are you feeling? Come on, guys, jump in the chat. Who's with us today? Yes, what is up, Bruce Wayne? Nice to see you join the chat. Okay, so since Bruce has jumped in, I'm going to start the stream. So guys, Rise of Skywalker, full spoilers, oh my days, so many things went down in that film. Like I said in my spoiler-free review, I did really enjoy The Rise of Skywalker. I came out of the film and I felt really positive, I felt really... Oh, they've sealed that off, they've wrapped it up, they've tied a big bow, awesome, let's move on. And as someone who has not yet seen The Mandalorian, being a UK resident, unfortunately I don't know why Disney didn't think of giving us The Mandalorian as well. I have to sit back and watch Baby Yoda memes, and I'm crying in the corner because I really want to see it. But yeah, as someone who's excited for the new, basically where Star Wars is going to go next, Rise of Skywalker, like I said, I enjoyed it, but the more I think about it, the more it stresses me out. And I watched a really interesting video, and if you get a chance, go and see it. It's by the amazing Screen Rant, and he did a pitch talk. One of my friends sent me the link, talking about The Rise of Skywalker and all the problems. And there's more problems in it that I didn't even pick up the first time. And it's just like, oh my days, there's so many things to go in this film. So, okay guys, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through the entire film, scene by scene, talking about the things I liked about the film, what I thought about the plot, what I thought about the story and character development, and talking full-on spoilers. Please jump in the chat, tell me what you think, throw me questions, ask me how I thought about things, tell me how you felt about the film. What was your favourite moment, what was your least favourite moment, because this film is a good film. It's full of really interesting moments, places that I really like, but on the other side, when I look at these moments that were good, I keep thinking it could have been so much better if this was built up previously in something else. So, okay, so I'm going to jump straight in. So the opening of the film, we go straight into the Star Wars crawl, and we find out the Emperor is alive. Now for me, I knew they were going to, obviously we saw the Emperor in the trailers and we knew that he was coming back, but for me it was kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, the Emperor's back, and they didn't really explain why he came back, or like why now, why is he back now. Like a really interesting part when you look at the film's idea that Snoke was just a puppet, a pawn, and this whole thing about transferring energies. Again, this would have been set up brilliantly in The Last Jedi if we had this idea that maybe instead of Snoke being killed off instantly, that we had Snoke mortally wounded, he's dying at the end of Last Jedi. He contacts his master, the Emperor, or we see the Emperor come out of Snoke, kind of thing. And I think when they introduce the Emperor, and I love this idea of the Emperor, and I do think when you look back in The Force Awakens, there are a lot of signs that there is something to Rey, and there's this idea of that she has a deeper meaning and everything. And I think Palpatine pulling the strings needed to be set up a lot better than it was in this film. It's kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, if you played Fortnite, you know the Emperor's coming back, and then everyone jumped on there. So I find that the Emperor coming back is a good plot idea. It just hasn't written. And again, the whole thing with my spoiler review is that I really like The Rise of Skywalker. However, it doesn't work as an overall storytelling genre of 3 films because there is no structure. There was no roadmap to this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end, this is where we want to go. They had ideas, I'm guessing, about the Emperor in Force Awakens, because again, there are some things that have been laid down, but they didn't have an idea. And then they threw Rian Johnson into it, and he did his creative side of it, and then it didn't work. So it's kind of all over the place. I'm just going to jump into some of the comments. Bruce, after Rey reveals her name to that old woman on Tatooine, the film should have ended with Rey's eyes subtly changing yellow into Sith eyes while she smiles. That would have been quite dark. That would have been kind of, oh yes, the Sith is gone, balance the Force. Is it really? Kind of thing. Then we hear Palpatine's evil laugh in the background as the camera pans up, implying that he successfully possessed her, much like Norman Bates' ending of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. I think if they wanted to end it on like a cliffhanger, I think that's a brilliant idea, that he is actually still alive, kind of thing. And it kind of, when I reflect back on it as well, it's kind of like Return of the Jedi. We had the death of the Emperor, and there was balance of the Force, and I've always bounced around who is the balance of the Force. I've always argued that this Anakin was the balance of the Force because he's the one who actually killed the Emperor. He threw him off and he was the chosen one, but I kind of leaning in the idea that maybe it was Kylo and it was Rey, and this idea that you had powerful light, powerful darkness, like I said in The Last Jedi, and that only together, by these two forces coming together, could they defeat the Emperor and kind of bring balance to the Force. And if she's not going to be a Jedi, even though she's got the like yellow lightsaber, which again, I like the fact that threw back to the Sentinels, and I'm going to do an entire video on the Easter eggs in this film, because the Easter eggs in this film are bonkers. Like, I think there's more Easter eggs in this film than any other film I've ever seen. So there's a lot of things in there that kind of set up that end. But we'll go back to the beginning. So the opening crawl, we see that the Emperor's alive, and our heroes is kind of giving us that information quickly. Oh yeah, we haven't got time to talk about the fact that the Emperor's back, so we're just going to throw it to you in text form, which again, Star Wars have always kind of done, but they haven't been as direct as it was in The Rise of Skywalker. So we start off with Kylo going absolute to town on some people, attacking people. This is, I think, would have been a good moment to show off the Knights of Ren. Why didn't we have scenes of him going at them with lightsabers, and in the background, or we had clips of the Knights of Ren fighting alongside him? We're like, oh, the Knights of Ren. I think that would have been a better way, because I feel the Knights of Ren was something that was kind of started and then thrown away, and they were kind of like wraiths in Lord of the Rings, but they just didn't do anything. They kind of just were in the shadows, and then they got killed. Their whole purpose over 3 films was to appear at the end and then die by their master. And again, I don't mind that they died by their master, but there's no payoff there, because again, every failing in this film is because of the failings of the story hasn't been written 7, 8, 9. They've written 7 and thought, oh, people like this, what are we going to do now? Okay, we'll write 8. Just get some other guy to write 8. So the other guy wrote 8. And then, oh no, they didn't like it. Let's go back to the first guy and just fill in all the things. Just use some money and use stuff to fill in. And the things he filled in, I kind of like a lot of the things they did. Don't get me wrong, I loved the Chewie medal. I thought that was a brilliant moment. I love the way that Ben and Han had that moment together. There was a lot of things that I really liked, but then when you look back at it more, you're like, oh, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they set it up? So again, we see Kylo, he's on his planet looking for the Sith Wayfinder. I like the fact they got a bit of Sith mythology in there with the Wayfinder. And stay tuned to the channel, because I am at the moment building a DIY Sith Finder. So that's going to be hopefully on the channel before the new year. So yes, we got this opening and he's attacking all these different people. And he's finding the Sith Wayfinder, and he finds the Sith one. And the pacing in the first 20 minutes of the film is blisteringly quick. You're jumping from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene, and it's good in a sense, because I was talking to my brother about this, that Star Wars films like Clone Wars, they move very, very slowly, and you're like, come on, just pick up the pace, do something. So it's great for a Star Wars film to jump straight in like that, but it almost felt like JJ was kind of trying to fill in the gaps and try to tell the bits that were missing that should have been dropped in episode 8 in episode 9. It was kind of like, right, let's spend the first 25 minutes setting everything up, and then let's kind of just quickly move into the story. And that's the thing, it was like they were just throwing lots of scenes at us at once, and not really like, yeah, so in that scene, oh yeah, remember they didn't like this in this film, let's put that in. They didn't like this in this film, this film. And there's a lot of things in this film that I'm happy that they finally did, like how much of a wasted potential was it to see Luke's X-Wing and him not rise it out of the water and fly off? Like, that would have been a brilliant way for him to have done the fight scene with Kylo at the end of The Last Jedi. He could have done that, rose it, and have gone. It's nice that it paid off in episode 9, but it feels like it was paid off because people picked up on it. The same thing with the lightsaber, where Rey throws the lightsaber into the fire and Luke, Force Ghost, catches it and says, that's no way to treat a Jedi weapon. It kind of throws back to that kind of, he should have might as well just looked at the camera and gone, see, you're not supposed to throw these things, you're supposed to respect them. It was like fixing a lot of things, and I don't blame JJ and I don't blame the film. I'm happy that they did fix them. I think this would have been a much worse film if they didn't fix those things and just said, no, but are we going to ignore all those things you hated about the last film? It was kind of an apology, this film. I think that's the best way of describing it. It's kind of an apology. Let's quickly get through it, let's tie up Star Wars so we can move on and start thinking in more creative ways. So while Kylo is trying to find things, we find out that he travels to this planet of the Sith, where we find the Emperor, and the Emperor does some dialogue, and he fills in the gaps that he has been the voice behind Vader. And I really like that idea that Palpatine has been pulling the strings, but this is something that should have been set up a lot more in Force Awakens, and really a lot more. We should have known the Emperor was coming at the end of episode 8, not in the trailer for episode 9, in my opinion. I think, again, if we had had Snoke's death and then realised that Snoke was the apprentice, or we saw the life force come out of him and he came back into that room and he kind of went, the Snoke has failed, but I found another. That would also explain why Palpatine all of a sudden has appeared. Because then instead of having this kind of text that says, oh yeah, by the way, the Emperor's back again, remember him from one of the other films, you can have that set up at the end, almost like a oh my god, my brain's gone blank. Like a plot twist at the end. Oh my days, that's a cliffhanger kind of thing, that you've got him, the Emperor at the end of episode 8. And you're like, oh my days, the Emperor's back. The Emperor's been doing this all along, instead of waiting until episode 9 and going, oh, by the way, the Emperor's back kind of thing. It was just a bit kind of broken. But again, I like the fact that Snoke was no one. His whole scarred face kind of thing, again, they didn't explain it well. They should have had it the more kind of thing that the Emperor was in Snoke, or that was him cloning his DNA and it was a clone of Snoke instead, would have been much better. So we have this dialogue between them. The one thing that really irritates me about that scene, like, I love everything, like Vader's voice, and you've got Snoke's voice, and he has been manipulating him through the Force, thinking that it's Vader, but it's not Vader, it's actually the Emperor. I love all that. I think that's brilliant, and I love the fact that they use clones. Again, it goes back to kind of the old non-canon Dark Empire kind of stories of cloning Palpatine. I like the idea, the fact that we've had in episode 2 the Clone Wars, the Palpatine knew about cloning. This is something that should have been set up a bit better, and we've seen other clones and something kind of done with that along the line of that. So I like all that, but the one thing that really stressed me out about that scene is that the Emperor makes out that he wants Ben to go off and kill Rey. Now, we know by the end of the film that he wanted Rey alive to be able to possess her. There was no explanation why he wanted him to kill her. If he had killed her, was it because he wanted Kylo then? He knew Kylo would be the stronger one with the dark side, and then he possessed Kylo. Or did he want to kill her because he was testing them both? It wasn't explained properly. It was just a bit mishmash. We jump then to Rey, and she's training, and I will be fair to J.J. Abrams, and I've said this in my review. I do genuinely like this film, and it's a bit like pizza. I really like pizza. Even if it's not great pizza, it's still pizza. And that's the same with this film. I find there's a lot of things I can really pick out of this film I really like. It might be a bad film, but there's things I pick out of it. It's a bit like the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk movie in the MCU. There's a lot of things in that I don't like. I don't like the story. I don't like the ideas. But there's loads of scenes in it that I really generally like. But yeah, so she's training. And the one thing I love that JJ did was not to just say... Because I thought the opening calls were going to start and it was going to be Princess Leia is dead. And that would have been a horrible way to have got rid of one of our main protagonists for the entire series. So the fact that he used old footage, I think, was brilliant. And I love the way that he did it. However, I think he used it a bit too much. A bit like they overused Peter Cushing in Rogue One. Why not have him slightly in the background? You know it's not really him, it's CGI. So the more you spend watching him and his scenes, it just comes across a bit, oh, they really just try to push that in. And the Leia scenes, like there was 2 or 3 I really liked. But then when it was like the 4th or 5th scene, it almost felt like a video game. Even the way that Rey stood facing her felt like I was playing Mass Effect. Like she would stand here and she would go, I've almost finished my training. And then she'd talk. And it's almost like you expected like a little text box at the bottom where you could select which phrase you wanted to say. Like if you wanted to be good, if you wanted to be bad. It just felt a bit not organic. But then the later scenes where she calls out to Ben, where she's talking to the other rebels, really, really nice work. I liked all that. I loved all her training. There was loads of Easter eggs in her training I really liked. The fact that she used a stick to destroy the technology was kind of a throwback to the Ewoks. Again, lots of these things, guys, I'm going to bring up in my Easter egg video. I love the fact she had the training helmet, much like Luke. I loved how she was lifting the rocks, again, much like Luke. There was lots in there that I really liked. I love the Force connection between them. Again, this whole thing that they're a Force dyad, that they're connected to, should have been set up better in Force Awakens and in The Last Jedi. It kind of was in The Last Jedi, where they had this kind of bond, but we threw it away as the fact that Snoke connected them. Why not have when her Force awakened, that her and him had this connection, and they looked at a deeper connection of those two, instead of just having it as I bridged you together because I wanted you to come together, which doesn't make any sense at all. It just doesn't work. So while this is going on, we get a nice scene with Poe and Finn, and I'm really happy they brought Poe and Finn together, because those two, their chemistry together worked really, really well. And to separate them, the thing is like, I was chatting to some people in the cinema that the fact that they said, oh well, yeah, but in Empire Strikes Back our heroes are separated, and I was like, yes, but in A New Hope, the 3 characters spend quite a bit of time together, especially in the Death Star, and they build their characters together. Whereas in The Force Awakens, yes, we do have a bit of chemistry and a bit of a connection between Poe and Finn and Rey, but not as a 3. So it doesn't kind of work. So, and then in the second film, we get Rey training, which you needed to do. You needed her to develop her powers, and that's fine. But then you didn't have much connection with Poe and Finn, so there wasn't much relationship building. There was more screen time, I think, with Finn and Rose than there was with the 3 of them together. So in this film, when they're coming together, it feels a bit awkward. It feels a bit like the Poe and Finn things, I think, worked brilliantly. And 3PO had a brilliant role in this film. And there's one thing that they did to 3PO that I wish they did, because I think it would have been the best way for 3PO's character's development. And I'll go into that a bit later. But what I really liked is the fact that he had a bit more dynamic in the group, and he brought brilliant humour to this film as well. He brought some really nice humour to it. What is up, Jacob? Welcome to the stream. We are talking spoilers because I know you haven't seen it, so be wary. You haven't missed much. I'm just talking about several of the scenes. Great to have you on the chat. So anyway, where was I? Yes, I was talking about the scene where they find out there's a spy, and they're trying to find out if it's true that the Emperor's back. Now again, I don't like this either, because they've kind of already said in the opening call, people have heard this recording. Do you really need to get information off the First Order that, oh yes, by the way, it's true, the Emperor is back, kind of thing? It's a bit like, you don't need to waste time on that. We know he's back. And again, I do believe that he should have been set up in The Last Jedi. We should have had the Emperor at the end of The Last Jedi, his laugh, or maybe even a connection, or maybe him saying, my puppet has failed, my apprentice has failed, I need a new apprentice. Maybe it's time for a younger body, blah, 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 this kind of stuff. It's time for the Empire to rise. And then it ended, and then we knew Rise of Skywalker was coming out. Instead of, again, waiting until we had this moment in the trailer of Rise of Skywalker, oh yeah, by the way, the Emperor's back kind of thing, which is a kind of, oh, the Emperor's back, that's amazing. Is it going to be a Force ghost? Is it going to be a person? Is he going to be back? Again, this should have been built up, I think, in Episode 8. But again, the whole reason these films don't work, and I think the reason there's so much hate for these films, is because somebody hasn't written 7, 8, and 9. Somebody's written 7, stopped, give it to someone else, wrote 8. People didn't like 8 that much. They were worried it was going to flop 9, so they took it back to the first guy, and he wrote the story. There's no structure. There's no, this is the beginning of the story, this is the middle of the story, this is the end of the story. All good story writing works like that, because you know where the narrative's going to go. Look at Lord of the Rings. They've got the One Ring, it's all evil. In the second film, they find out more about the One Ring, they find out that he's turning kind of thing, and then we get to the end, and then Mordor comes, and then they got to throw the... You know where it's going. Look at the MCU. It's 24, 23 films, and you're developing these characters and introducing new things, but in the background you've got Thanos and the Infinity Stones, and all builds up. So when you get to Infinity War, you don't have to do any talk, or you don't have to talk about anything that's previous. It's brilliant, the fact that in Infinity War it starts off with Thor on his ship and he's completely been beaten by Thanos. People don't need to talk about the fact that Thor's ship is being attacked, because we know, because it was in the previous film. It was set up perfectly. Now again, I know they've had 24 films, and this is something that me and my wife talked about. Maybe 7, 8 and 9 shouldn't have been films. Maybe 7, 8 and 9 should have been a TV series on Netflix or on Disney Plus. I think because when Force Awakens come out, Netflix wasn't as big as it is now, and streaming services wasn't as big, and I do think creatively they're probably thinking now, maybe we should have done this as a TV series. Can you imagine these being, say, like 6 series, and they were like 15 episodes each, and they were an hour each? Think of the character development you could have put in there. Think of all the things you could have set up, this payoff, and then had like a 2-hour finale episode, a bit like Game of Thrones did. I think that would have worked so much better for 7, 8, 9, instead of trying to force it into films. And I think it probably would have made more money as well. Anyway, back to the story. So where was we? Yes, we were talking about the development of Poe and them. So they find out that the Emperor is back, and the Emperor's back, and something's happening, and they know Kylo Ren's up to something, so they need to talk to each other about what they're going to do and how it's going to happen. So they come back, they do a nice bit of Millennium Falcon action, and we see him lightspeed skipping, which kind of reminded me of the Guardians of the Galaxy scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where they're jumping through different planets, and it's kind of crazy kind of jumping through, and I kind of like that. And it was kind of set up when Han Solo did it to get onto Starkiller Base in Force Awakens, so I kind of like that kind of throwback to that, and it was a good idea. I just think they only used it once. So they say to Rey, we need to work as a team, we need to do this together, and she's like, no, it's too dangerous, I need to do it on my own. And he's like, no, we have to work as a team, because we've always been a team, even though we've only just kind of had one scene, the three of us, and we kind of, Poe and Rey only met at the end of The Last Jedi. I know it's been a year since this film, but it just doesn't feel organic enough, them meeting together. So yeah, so they decide that they need to find a Sith device, and they need to find something, and they need to find something else, they need to go somewhere else. So they end up going to another planet. They go to this planet in order to find an artifact, which is linked to Rey's heritage. Now, Jacob, if you're still with me on the stream, mate, and you haven't seen it, this is the time to leave the stream now, because it's going to get a bit spoilery now. So if you are still with us, Jacob, and you haven't seen the film, I definitely would jump out now. You've got 5 seconds. There we go. I've warned you. Okay, so let's talk Rey's parentage. Okay, so in episode 7, we find out that Rey unlocks her power, her force has awakened, and she's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, which is brilliant. I like that development, that she's got this kind of power and it's growing is good. It really is good. Then we get episode 8, and we find out from their connection that she was nobody. Her parents didn't love her, they sold her off for drink money, And she's no one. And if I'm honest, when I watched Last Jedi, that was one of my favourite pulls from the film. That and the little boy moving the staff, the broom at the end of the film, it showed an idea that anybody can use the Force. And you don't need to be from Skywalker bloodline, or you don't have to be from a brilliant Jedi or Sith to have... What is up, Ben Solo? Welcome to the stream. You don't need to have Jedi and Sith blood to be strong in the Force. And this was kind of set up in A New Hope, because Luke, we didn't know what Luke's parentage was or where he was from. We just knew he was a farm boy. We knew his dad was a Jedi. That was kind of it. But he had this huge potential, and nobody saving the galaxy is kind of what A New Hope kind of pushed out. And I really like the fact that he is this all-powerful Ben Solo Kylo Ren. I mean, he's this really strong, powerful character who's the grandson of the great Darth Vader, the best Sith that ever ruled the galaxy kind of thing. And he's got this mental pressure on him to perform and to be strong, and he wants to be as strong as Darth Vader. And it's a brilliant setup, and it does pay off in the end of this film, and I'll get to that soon. But what I really I'm confused about is the fact that they set all this up and then showed off that she's a nobody, and it kind of means that anyone can have the Force. Look at that slave boy, he had the Force, and it's kind of like anybody can be a hero. You don't have to be something where... And then they kind of turned around and went, oh yeah, by the way, she's Palpatine's granddaughter, and you're like, okay, so she is from the Force. And it's funny because Luke actually says later on a line relating, I can't remember the line exactly, but it's something like... there's no such thing as or something to do with blood, and the fact that it doesn't matter if it's in your blood, you can be anybody. And it was kind of a throwaway kind of thing that they did, and I wasn't really fussed on the fact that they did this kind of set up that she was nobody and then kind of completely changed that because a few people didn't like that idea. I think the problem again it goes back to the fact that they set up 7. It was very much like A New Hope. They jumped into 8 and had this change in creative idea. And don't get me wrong, there are parts of The Last Jedi. I watched all 9 films before, all 8 films before I went to see Rise of Skywalker. The day before I went to see Rise of Skywalker, I watched The Last Jedi. It's the only film besides Attack of the Clones that I actually fast-forwarded scenes, and that's the whole cantina scene. I can't watch it. It's just painful to watch. With the beginning of Last Jedi and the end of Last Jedi and some of the Luke stuff is brilliant. But again, they didn't have the guts to carry that through and to see where that story ended. And I think if Rian Johnson had started 7, 8, and 9, I think this trilogy would have been much better. If J.J. Abrams had done 7, 8, and 9, I think this trilogy would have been a lot better. Because you've got two creative minds that completely oppose each other, bouncing off each other, and scrapping things and taking things and changing things, it doesn't work and it just falls apart. And again, I know I'm focusing a lot on negative things here, guys, but there's a lot of things I love about this film. So anyway, we find out Rey's heritage kind of thing, and so anyway, she's on that planet. Loads of Easter eggs on that on the sand planet, Hasana, I think it's called. Lots of lovely things. I really liked on there that they did. 42 years the celebration is. And the fact that it's been 42 years since 1977, which is the release of A New Hope. Again, I cannot wait to show you the trailer. I've got so many things about Easter eggs that a video hopefully I'm going to get out either tomorrow or the day after, or Christmas Eve, because it's kind of awesome the amount of Easter eggs they put in this film. So basically then we go on and we find out, and we find out that Rey's ship was holding her parent, and that a Sith transporter for Palpatine was taking them away, but we don't know why Palpatine was taking them away. We have this strange scene with I love the whole Stormtrooper battle scene. I thought that was really cool as well. I like the fact that she didn't have a surname. You kind of knew that she was going to be a Skywalker as soon as that scene happened. The fact that she was like, well, what's your second name? Oh, I haven't got a second name. And I was like, she's going to be Skywalker. That's what Rise of Skywalker means. So they have that fight, that chase scene with the Stormtroopers on the jetpacks. Really like that. It was great. Love the BB-8 kind of thing. Kind of pop the power. I love that. 3PO, great comedy. They find the spaceship. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, it's a bit convenient that they found the actual pit that he fell in and found the thing that they were looking for by accident. Yes, they were, but they were actually traveling to that ship, and they were right by that ship when they fell in there, and that kind of makes sense. He landed, he went to look for something, he fell in there, and that's what happened. Then we get this scene with the snake kind of a snake worm thing. And Rey heals it. Now, a lot of people, and if I'm honest, when I first saw the film, I didn't like this because I knew as soon as I saw Force healing, I thought they're going to use this at the end for some sort of reason. And a lot of people said, oh, they kind of throw these Force powers in. But I like that. I actually do like that power because we've always known that the Force is connected to life. It connects us, it binds us. So it's life energy. So it would be possible for somebody to manipulate that energy to heal. Which again bounces back brilliantly to the fact that Palpatine tried to use the dark side of the Force to become immortal and to heal life. This is something that has been picked up a little bit in the prequels, a little tiny bit at the end. This is something that should have been bouncing. So when you got that payoff at the end, it really was impactful. They didn't need to do the snake healing. I know why they did it, because they were like, we're showing you this Force power, so then later on, you know it's not, we've just thrown it in. So, oh, and Ben Solo, just to answer, the next prop I'm making is the Sith Wayfinder from Star Wars Rise of Skywalker with a, hopefully, if it works, working light as well. But hopefully that will be out before, as long as I get time to build it, especially being Christmas now is a bit crazy, but hopefully before the new year it'll be out. So anyway, so she heals the snake using the Force. Again, I'm cool with that. Force it binds us, it penetrates us, all this kind of stuff. We've heard this before. So she heals the snake and they find the little droid Dio. Love Dio. Anyone else like Dio? Put it in the chat, guys. Who else liked Dio? I loved Dio. Oh my days. Do you know what? Actually, I'm gonna show you something. Spoilers this is as well. One of my videos coming up in the next few days. I've bought a few Star Wars props. I've bought a few things, and one of the things I'm reviewing is this because I love Dio so much. I picked up this. Bear with me. Check that out, geeks. Look at that. How cool is that? This is the 10-inch Funko Pop Dio. Absolutely loved this droid. Absolutely loved it. So, yeah, pick this up. It's actually, if you're in the UK, you can get this in Smith's Toy Shop. Was £35 down to £20. Absolute steal. They got tons there. I was in Smith's earlier today. Yeah, absolute steal. And what I love about him is he looks, when you've got him next to my BB-8, which again, when I do my review for this and the unboxing, I'll show you side-by-side comparison. He's about the same size as the actual Dio droid. And for 20 quid, I think that's absolute steal. So, a big fan of Dio. So keep an eye on the channel, guys. Don't forget to hit the notification bell because then you know when my new content is coming. So yeah, Dio, absolutely love Dio. Thought he was a brilliant little addition, great little droid. I loved how he worked his mechanics. Yeah, so then they find the dagger and they find the kind of Force thing. Next, let me put my mic on. Next was a scene that I think could have been really powerful, but they bailed. And that, of course, is the scene where they come out and Chewie's being captured. I love this idea that Chewie's being captured. And there's a brilliant moment here. Again, Easter eggs, guys. If you've ever played the 2008 Star Wars game, The Force Unleashed, this is kind of a throwback to this game where in one of the scenes, the Jedi in Force Unleashed actually uses the Force to pull a Star Destroyer down. Now, that's kind of big. In Force Unleashed, it was like OP Star Wars Force powers. It really was. If you haven't played it, play this. Great. And he pulls down a ship, and this scene you have with Kylo and Rey where they're trying to pull the Chewie ship down, and they're pulling the ship, and as their Force powers goes and she's getting a bit mad, she zaps lightning, and instantly when you see that, you're like, she's dark side, she's possibly Emperor, because obviously Vader never used lightning. So she destroys the ship, and you have this really impactful moment where Chewie's dead, Chewbacca is dead, and I think this could have been a brilliant moment. This could have been such a powerful moment because this film had some brilliant, impactful moments, but because one, I think Disney were afraid if they did too much like this, they'd get a lot of hate, so they played this film too safe. And I think Chewbacca, as much as I love the Wookiee, should have died then. It was almost like, and a lot of people have picked up on this, and it's one of the things that does bug me, and the two that I can't really live with is Chewie dying he should have died then. However, they saved themselves with Chewie because you had that amazing scene at the end where Leia had left him the medal, which is an amazing moment, because if any of you've seen any of the other Star Wars, you know in A New Hope, Chewie doesn't get a medal at the Yavin celebration, and it's heartbreaking. And guys, I am going to be making a Yavin medal DIY on you soon as well, so you can make yourselves one of them as well. And that was a brilliant moment. And Chewie's reaction to Leia's death was another brilliant tear-jerking moment, and I really enjoyed that. So for me, the Chewie death I can live with because of that. So they think Chewie's dead, but then literally you don't even have to wipe, you can't even wipe the tears away from your face. They haven't even got to the bottom of your face. We find out he's alive. There was 2 transporters. Anyone else see 2 transporters? Because I didn't see 2 transporters. So they're feeling all bad, and this would have been a great moment for Rey's fear of the dark side. Now I know she thought she killed him, but that kind of was revealed. Even Rey found out that he wasn't dead not that long after. So it's kind of like, oh, that kind of sucks. That could have been a great moment, but again, they saved themselves by having those things happen. Maybe Chewie could have died at the very end. I don't know. So anyway, moving on, they find that they can't read the Sith holocron because 3PO can read it, but he can't decipher it. He's not allowed to. This again links back brilliantly to the prequels when Palpatine was in power. It makes sense that what he would have done is made it illegal for any droid to decipher, or anyone to decipher Sith artifacts. Even in Rogue One, they destroyed the planet, the Kyber crystal planet. I can never remember the name of the planet. You'll get a like from me if you can put the name of the planet where the Kyber crystal was from. I can never remember the name of the planet from Rogue One. If you put it in the comment section, I'll give you a like. And you had this I can't even remember what it was now. Yeah, so he can't decipher the text, and it's great that he can't decipher the text, because again, Palpatine would have made it so people couldn't rise and use the Sith power, or realize actually, whoa, the Sith were actually bad guys, not the Jedi. Because a lot of people say to me, well, how can they forget Jedi? It's only been like 25, 30 years. But then I don't think there's Facebook and Star Wars, and social media wasn't a real big thing, and like people on planets only hear about Jedis like they're legends or myths or something. Like the Force isn't real. Yeah, there's people pulling down spaceships and blasting lightning out of their hands and healing things. So I think in the mythology and the world of Star Wars, things like this are kind of taken with a grain of salt. So anyway, they travel to this planet, and I like all the stuff on the planet. I like the banter between Poe and Finn, where we find out he was a spice runner. And if any of you don't know, spice is kind of like drugs in Star Wars land. So he's like a drug smuggler. They're trying to make him a bit of a smuggler, a bit of a Han Solo. They're trying to make you like him a bit more, and I kind of like that, because I'd like to find out more about Poe, and I'd like to see Poe's adventures after this, and maybe things about Poe. I like Poe's character in that sense. And then we have this romantic kind of stormtrooper Power Ranger looking thing that he's had a relationship with. Again, I liked that they had that. I thought at the end of episode 8, the Rey and Poe, there was this kind of moment where they looked at each other, thought, oh, maybe they're going to develop a thing with that. But no, he's kind of just Jack the Lad kind of thing, Han Solo. And then they reprogrammed 3PO, and this for me was one of the big moments. They could have had such an amazing moment here, guys. And then what they did, the only way they could do it for 3PO was to wipe his memory. And I love this idea. And I think it should have been even darker. I think if he had deciphered it, it would have destroyed all his programming. It was that kind of back alley hacking kind of thing, that 3PO would never be the same again. He wouldn't be able to even back up. He would have to give his life for them to have this information. That's how it should have been. Because when I saw that scene in the trailer, and again, I don't think they should have shown it in the trailer. Maybe they should have, because then you kind of knew it was coming, but I think they shouldn't have. That line where he says, taking one last look at my friends. And the thing is ever since episode 1, episode 1, where we meet 3PO, and we see 3PO through it, he's a coward, isn't he? He doesn't want conflict. He tells people not to do stuff. He's kind of the whoa, we shouldn't be doing this, guys, kind of thing. He's the coward. He doesn't stand up. He'd rather hide in the cabinet. He's not like R2. R2's like brave. That's the kind of droid he is. Whereas 3PO is kind of the coward. He's kind of the smart coward and doesn't want to get involved. What an amazing way for 3PO to have been pushed out than to have 3PO sacrifice his life, well, not his life because he's a droid, but his existence, much like the droid in Solo did for the Falcon. I know her existence stayed on, and this is something I think should have been brought up when we saw Lando and the Falcon, when he talked to him about, I thought he was going to mention it, when he said he got the Falcon, or he was back in the Falcon, he should have said something about his girl, or referenced her name. I think that would have been a brilliant throwback. They throwing back celebrations about all these films, they missed a moment there, I think, especially with Solo film being out. So 3PO, and I love the fact that they ask him the odds. It's a brilliant throwback to Empire Strikes Back, Never Tell Me the Odds, and it's a brilliant throwback that they actually need actual fact. Can we do this? And 3PO even kind of has this moment where he walks towards the screen and he's like, no, you won't be able to do it. I have to sacrifice myself. How amazing a moment would that have been if we had 3PO say one last goodbye to his friends and he died, and he kind of like went unconscious, and then maybe the stormtroopers started attacking and destroyed him. We just saw 3PO and the post place blow up. That would be an amazing moment for 3PO. He'd already said goodbye to R2 and BB-8, and he would have gone down as a brave droid. Now he's just still irritating, and he's still alive, and it's kind of like, oh, you know. And that's the thing with this film, because they haven't had time to kind of have moments where they can have these characters have impactful moments, because they've run out of time and they're terrified of a backlash, which, again, because they've been terrified of a backlash, they've had a backlash. They've missed these amazing character development moments, and I think 3PO dying would have been perfect. The fact that he lived and he kind of was like, I'm going to say one last goodbye to my friends, and then 10 minutes later he's meeting his friends again. Yeah, his memory's gone. If you're going to do that and wipe his memory and give it to him back, why not, another opportune moment, why wouldn't he say something like Master Anakin, and they'd be like, who? Or even something little like that, where it kind of throws back to him remembering some of the stuff from 1, 2 and 3, or the Clone Wars, something like that. Or Master Anakin, Padme, kind of, why not have that moment? Where's the point of bringing him back with his old memories if he can't do anything like that? It feels really off. It was almost like we need to keep 3PO so we can have a few more comedy moments, and I think they didn't need it. So anyway, they find out that Chewie's alive and he's on the spaceship, so they travel to the spaceship, and Rey finds Vader's helmet. And I did really like this scene. Rey and Kylo have this kind of interaction with each other. It's very reminiscent of Vader and Luke. And again, loads of Easter eggs. I'll go back over Easter eggs in my Easter egg video, and they have this moment, and they're fighting, and they have a lightsaber battle, and they're having a lightsaber battle from different parts. Again, it's a bit kind of, they're kind of putting this in to explain something else. It just didn't feel right. It just felt like this was set up for that Knights of Ren moment, and I just didn't like the fact that it kind of was there. I loved all the banter and the dialogue and the character development, and the fact that we saw her appearance and this is why, and we're kind of getting a backstory, which we needed. I liked that they did that. But he was very Vader, together we can stop the Emperor kind of thing. Very Vader with Luke. So I liked all that. That was really good. Smashes up the Vader helmet. It's a great way to get rid of Vader. When I saw the trailer and I saw them, I don't know about you, again, comment in the comment section, guys. I'd love to see some more comments in the comment section. Is when I saw them smashing, I thought that was them joining forces to save the day kind of thing. But I'm happy that they didn't, and it was kind of they're in the midst of battling. But it does look like the scene that they're both coming together to attack it. It was kind of, it didn't look like an accident. It looked more like they were doing it purposefully. So then we find out that Hux is a spy, and I do like this idea that he's a spy, even though he's probably the most hateful person in The Force Awakens, even more than Snoke. And then in the second film, he was kind of a bit of a baby and kind of really irritated, and there for like slapstick comedy value, as a really weedy person. And I like the fact that he's not the spy, he's more of a snitch, is kind of the word they needed rather than spy, because he's not a spy. It should have been snitch, because that's what he is. And I love the fact that he even said, why are you doing this? And he said, because I hate Kylo Ren. We didn't say I hate Kylo Ren. He says, I don't want Kylo Ren, I don't want Kylo to win. It's kind of like, well, if Kylo don't win, the First Order don't win, so that'll make no sense. It should have been, I want Kylo dead, kind of thing. But again, that doesn't make any sense. Bringing back the Emperor wouldn't get Kylo dead. Surely you should tell them where he is, or something of that other. That's what you should have done. And then nothing else came of that because he was killed instantly. So that was kind of like, oh, well, set up. But I like the fact that Hux died, and it was kind of a kind of snaky kind of death that he died. I kind of liked that. So what we're going to do then is then we move on to the next scene, which is they decide to travel to the back, and they have to find out what they're going to do. They need to find the Sith Wayfinder, so they end up going to one of the planet moons of Endor. And there's a brilliant moment here where we meet the people on the horses, and they're actually ex-stormtroopers, which I think is a brilliant idea because it gives Finn an actual progression in his character development. Like, I love the fact that he was a stormtrooper but decided to say no. But the only problem with this is, like, in this film he's like wooing when he kills stormtroopers, but it kind of goes against it because you're kind of making stormtroopers seem a bit more human, but then he doesn't mind going around blasting them all kind of thing. It was kind of a bit... They could have done a lot with this. Again, if this was a TV series and it was over a period of time, it would have been amazing because we would have seen this progression of him conflicted with killing stormtroopers, and then he realised that he had to do it to save the greater good, and it would have been a conflicting moment, and it could have been a brilliant character development, but again, it was thrown under the carpet. Just checking in the comments, Apex, can you believe the most powerful Sith in the galaxy gets beaten by Rey? How pathetic. I kind of agree. I like the fact that it should have been not just Rey, it should have been Rey and Ben, and they could have been the balance, and maybe he should have been Darkseid, and then he had died to Darkseid and not been back, but then we would have missed that Han Solo scene. But I like the fact that it was all the Sith against all the Jedi. I'll talk about that more when we get to that scene, but I do agree she's very OP, Rey, in this. She's very, very, very strong, and they kind of saying, well, okay, she's kind of strong because she's a Palpatine, but even so, would she really have that much power? But anyway, we'll get back to that anyway. So they go to one of the moons of Endor, and they use the dagger. Now, of all the cool Forcey tricks they could have done, they went for a Goonies style, hold it up in a particular point and see where the door entrance is. It just felt a bit... I would have preferred maybe a map would have been better to find the actual location. They probably could have found their way into that system. There wasn't a particular door. It's rubble. It's not as if there's a designed secret entrance like a cave. It's rubble. It's just smashed there. As long as you found the Death Star, you most likely can find a way in. So I found that a bit meh. I thought it would have been a cool sort of like the dagger, you need to stab it into a certain thing and then it revealed map where something was. It just could have been a bit more Force linked, I think, rather than hold it up at that point and you can see the door. You could have seen the hole without the dagger kind of thing, and it's a bit it kind of could have been better. Again, something that could have paid off better if they'd set it up previously. So I love all the use. So I got to say, hands together as well. Even if you didn't like this film, even if you thought this was the worst film ever, even if you hated this film, we've got to put our hand up and say how phenomenal John Williams' score has been throughout these films and how amazing it is in this. Like, I've been listening to his music since the film was trailered, and he is an absolute genius. And there's elements of his music, like when the Rey's on the Death Star, it's the Emperor's music from Return of the Jedi, and it gives you goosebumps when you hear John Williams. So even if you don't like the film and you really hated it and you're all dark side about it, you can still appreciate the brilliance that is John Williams. And I'm happy he had a cameo in this as well, which again will be in my Easter egg video. So again, we get the scene of Kylo there. Now I was thinking, is he force projected again? Not force projected, but is it kind of a link thing they're fighting, or is he actually there? Because apparently he didn't have the dagger, so he wouldn't have known the secret kind of doorway to go through. But I'm guessing he wasn't because he got stabbed later on. So that doesn't make sense, because if Kylo could have found his way in, how could... and she couldn't cross because of the sea, yet he was kind of there. Like, did you not know there was a door by here you could have just gone through? I just landed my ship on the roof. Why didn't you do that? Kind of thing. It was a bit kind of like, oh, they haven't explained that well. And because, again, we've got this projection thing, you don't know whether he's actually there or if he's not there. So it's kind of, they didn't deal with that fair. Love the battle scene. I love the fight scene with them too. I love the fact she saw her dark side self. Again, they kind of forced that in for the trailer, didn't they? But I like this conflict. Again, it throws back to Empire Strikes Back, where Luke was seeing himself as Vader. And again, it makes sense. She's worried. Is she going to be a Palpatine? Is she going to go dark side? She's seen elements of this. If the Chewie death thing was an actual thing, this would have been a brilliant payoff. It would have worked a lot more. I think maybe she'd have seen this dark side thing come in more and more and more. What is up, Mr. Cooper? Glad you're there. Happy to see you, dude. Yes, if you like the Goonies reference, you wait. I've got about 50 to 100 Easter egg moments. I've got a pad, look here guys, literally full of things I picked up from this film. if anything, this is moments of celebration about Star Wars. I'm kind of like saying, sorry, we'll do this. Sorry, we'll do this. Sorry, we'll do this. So anyway, so she's seeing the dark side, and I really like the fact that she sees the dark side, and she sees herself as the dark side, and she's scared, and Kylo's playing on that. And I gotta be honest, the character development between Rey and Kylo, I did really, really like. I didn't like the kiss at the end, but we'll get to that when we get to the end, and I'll explain soon. So she has this conflicting feeling. He smashes up the Pathfinder, so she can't get it. She's really annoyed, so she's terrified what she'd do. Great battle on the outside of the water scene. I had a feeling that was going to be a really good battle, and the way she jumps and all the kind of acrobatics of it was brilliant. I wish Duel of Fates played then. I think Duel of Fates should have been played at that moment, or maybe even the other part of Duel of Fates that was in Revenge of the Sith. I think they missed a moment there. That would have been a great celebration to have a fight scene with those two again. So they're fighting. It's getting like Rey's gonna lose. Rey's gonna die. It's going down. She's gonna lose. This is it. And I love this moment. This is one of my favorite moments of the film. Leia calls out to Ben because she's dying. They don't really explain why she's dying. She could have had maybe a fall and kind of sat down and then said Ben. But I understand they didn't have much footage of Leia. And at that moment, he drops his guard and she gets him. Very dark side kind of thing. She gets him and she stabs him. Again, going back to the things I mentioned previously about the fact that I think the Chewie death would have been a better payoff for her character development. It would have been a great way for us to have really felt, oh my days, this film has some actual impact. But again, I like the fact that Chewie was saved because of the things that happened with his reaction to Leia's death. I think was superbly done, and his medal again at the end, I was crying my eyes out. And 3PO, again, he should have died. That would have been a brilliant development moment for him. I think 3PO should have died at that moment. It would be a brilliant development for his character to go from that cowardly robot to giving his life for his friends. That generally is how I felt. The fact that it was like, I'm going to die. Oh, I'm back now. Hey, who are you again? It kind of made that cheap. So with the Rey moment, I really like the fact that she killed him. I agree with you, Sam. I'm not a big fan of force pushing Finn away. And why is he on there? What was he thinking he was going to do? He didn't have a blast. He was just running. He would have got swushed away. But I think it was them trying to show off her dark side. But they didn't need to because the moment was already there with him stabbing Kylo. And I love that moment. That at that moment, she killed Kylo Ren. And I really like that character development there, that he died. And then the scene with him and Han, I actually really liked. The fact that he wasn't a force projection, because a lot of people said, oh, he's a force projection. I was like, no, he's not a force projection. He's not having that blue aura around him. He's a memory. And they even pointed out that he's a memory. He's a memory of his. And I love the way they did that scene. I think that scene is one of the strongest in the entire film, where he says the lines from The Force Awakens to him, but we see it on the light side. The great cinema imagery of this is that scene was really bright. The sky was white. It was really bright, whereas you had the moment in The Force Awakens, which again was brilliant cinema, when he was saying this moment and the last of the sun disappeared and the darkness had taken over. It was a great symmetry of his confliction. I loved that. But my favourite part wasn't actually that, it's the Easter egg that comes after it, where he's just about to say to his father, I love you. And Han stops him and says, I know. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful Star Wars. Goosebump moment, filling up with tears. That is Star Wars. That moment there of that film, that is brilliant Star Wars moment. It's a shame that it's all jig-jaggedy everywhere else, like a puzzle that you've got 20 pieces left for, but they're 20 pieces from different jigsaws. But that moment I thought was brilliant and was really kind of a heartfelt kind of, because I love the fact that he killed his dad and he killed Han, but for me, I always had this bitter taste in my mouth of this is the way the great Han Solo died. I really wish there was some closure for Han, so this kind of gave him closure, so I like that. And it was that Ben Solo was alive now because Kylo had been killed by Rey. I'm not a fan of the Force healing there, but like I said previously, it makes a lot of sense. The Force, it penetrates us, it guides us, it's part of a living Force. I won't say the word midichlorians ever, but it is to do with life. Life manipulation. It surrounds us, embodies us, so it makes sense that you could use it to heal. And again, like I said previously, this would have been a brilliant thing to have built up over the films a bit more, because Palpatine's whole purpose was to find eternal life, to use the Force to find eternal life. And I kind of like the fact that Qui-Gon found a way to be a Force ghost, and they linked that part in really well. But they could actually manipulate, and it was his granddaughter that figured it out. They missed a slot by not focusing on that more. So it was kind of like, oh, you've missed a really cool moment here, guys, and you kind of thrown it away because we had too much time rushing through everything else. So Rey then decides to do a Luke Skywalker and heads back to Akatu, my favorite island in the world, and kind of has a moment with Luke. Now, I'm shocked. I thought Luke would be a bigger part in this film. Even though he had died in the previous film, I thought he would have had a lot more. I'm happy with what they did. And I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but a lot of people I've talked to agreed with me. I don't know what was up with Luke Skywalker's hair. It looked really straightened and waved. It didn't look right. It didn't look like he did, obviously, in The Last Jedi. It just didn't look right. I think I would have preferred him with the shorter hair, like he was when he was facing off against Kylo. If he can force project himself like that, he should be like that kind of thing. I feel it didn't look, something didn't look right. It was just irritating me while I was watching the scene. Love the fact that she threw the lightsaber and he caught it, and he actually said, he might as well have turned to the screen and said, that's no way to treat a Jedi weapon, and gone like Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother, kind of like saying to the audience, I know what I said in the last film was bad and how I threw it on the floor, kind of thing. But he kind of said, I wish he kind of went for maybe the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing to say, this weapon is your life, and it would have been a nice throwback to that, but I kind of like the way he did it. He got to say what my favourite line of my favourite lines of this movie is, fear is the destiny of a Jedi. I absolutely love that. I want it on a t-shirt. And he has this good moment with Rey when he talks about how he knew, and Leia knew, that he was a Palpatine. Again, why wasn't this kind of used and highlighted in 8? Why weren't there hints of when Luke and Leia maybe had a conversation where they would be like, but you know who she is, and Leia could have been like, I know, but there's good in her. Why not have this little tiny little mini 3-second scene in episode 8? And again, that is the constant problem with the errors that are in this film, is that there is no structure, there's no roadworks. It feels like a train set that has too many pull-off roads. It's not just a looped story. It just feels so rigid. It feels like I've watched Star Wars, then I watched Star Trek, then I watched Star Wars again. It just feels not right for some reason. So he convinces her to continue fighting. I like the fact that she went back there. We get to see a Porg again, which is brilliant, and we get to see another amazing scene that gives me goosebumps, and that is Luke bringing out the X-Wing out of the water with Yoda's theme, rising it out of the water. You can finally do it. I love that. Brilliant scene. I was expecting him to do that at the end of Last Jedi, and that's how he appeared, but he didn't come. But they set it up for this, so happy days. Also love the fact that Leia did training with Luke. It kind of explains again how she had the kind of force powers. Don't get me started with Super Lady Leia in space. I don't like that. Let's carry on. I like the fact she had a lightsaber. I thought it was a brilliant touch, and I cannot wait to have more images of this lightsaber, because I want to do a DIY custom build of her lightsaber. Yes, geeks, it's coming. The DIY Leia lightsaber. So anyway, getting to the end. So she flies off in Luke's X-Wing. Love the fact she had the X-Wing helmet. It's one of my favourite Star Wars props of all time, besides the lightsaber, is an X-Wing helmet. I've always wanted an X-Wing helmet ever since I was about 4. So anyway, so she flies off. 3PO picks up on her. They pick up on her signal that it's Luke Skywalker's ship, which is brilliant. Again, it could have been R2-D2 had done the beep 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 and done that. That would have been brilliant, but they didn't. She goes off and she goes to see the Emperor, and she goes to face him, and Kylo goes off to face him as well. While this is happening, they have a kind of a meeting back at the Rebels base about finding people, and there's a few Easter eggs in there. Again, I'll pick this up in the Easter egg video, guys. I'm not going to talk about it much because I know the stream has been for quite a while now and I want to get through it as quick as I can. So there's this, they chat about what they're going to do, and they have to find Hope, and they're going to go off into the galaxy, and they're going to see if they can find people to help them, because Lando knows a lot of people apparently. And they basically go off and they they head off to face the Emperor, and they get to the Emperor, and she kind of being all defiant, and they have this scene where he's kind of explaining what had happened and kind of previous things. We see that the fact that he does exactly what he does to Luke. He kind of says, look, you either got to strike me down or you're going to lose. Now, I love the throne room, a brilliant fact that it goes back again. Lovely throwback to the originals, where we have the Ralph McGuire Return of the Jedi design for the throne. I love the fact they do that. I'm just jumping into the comments quickly because I don't want to miss any of your comments. Let's have a look. Choose Leia made me tear up. The scene with Han floored me, made me cry. Me too. I was an absolute mess. Didn't really like how she forced Finn away. I agree. It did help with Solo's death. Yeah, I agree. I think the way that they handled his, it kind of give you closure for Han, which was nice. That was a very powerful scene. Luke's look on his face when he did it was awesome. Yeah, he's kind of like, check me out. We did it. Yoda. They should have maybe had Yoda at the back going, kind of thing. Or maybe Kylo like that. Anyway, so again, the entire setup of her dropping the lightsaber so Kylo could grab it was kind of meh. I didn't kind of like it. And then he fights the Knights of Ren. Now, the Knights of Ren, I think, were the biggest letdown in this movie since Phasma. Because they could have been amazing. Like I said, in the opening scene, it should have been them having some screen time fighting other people. They should have killed someone, I think, important. Maybe one of the Resistance, maybe kills Rose. And don't even get me started on Rose. They set her up in the second film, made a big whole thing about it. She had loads of screen time in this film. Set her up for a love romance with Finn, which led to nothing, and then she can't even take part in the adventure because people apparently don't like her. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike her, but again, you can't just throw a character like that away. Maybe even if she had her in and she was killed, and it's kind of, again, another impactful moment, it could have been something really good, but they didn't. So he fights them, he kills them while she's defenseless, and ends up trying to fight Palpatine. Palpatine says, if you strike me down, I'm going to possess you. Apparently that's a thing now, but I can get with that. Again, this is something that should have been done and set up in the previous film. So you've got this scene then where he's shooting force lightning up in the air and she's almost dead and he's killing all the fleets, and then all the fleets come out from absolute nowhere, and it's a bit like, okay, so apparently all you needed was Lando to get millions of people. And don't get me wrong, I love the fact that there was loads of different ships in there. I love that Admiral Aardvark's son was in there, Aftab. I love that he was in there from the comics. I love the fact that the rebel ship Ghost was in there. That's fab. But I would have liked a few more things in there that kind of make sense to why he had done it and how they got all those people. So they're being lightning, they're being killed, it's going to all lose. There's horses on top of spaceships because that apparently is a thing. And Rey picks up the lightsaber and starts deflecting the lightning back at him, and all of a sudden she picks up the other lightsaber and she's deflecting both of them. Kylo gets thrown down a thing, and he references himself, how he was thrown down a pit and he's throwing him down a pit. And apparently if you're falling to your death, you're never doing Star Wars, no matter if it's Cloud City, whether it's Endor, whether it's a Death Star, it doesn't matter, you don't die apparently. And she uses the two lightsabers to kind of deflect it. Again, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I maybe would have liked it more if she'd manipulated that dark side energy within her and used it as a balance thing and shot lightning back at him. I know it would have been a bit more dark side, and I like the fact that he said, I am all the Sith and she is all the Jedi. You've got Force ghosts in you. Why couldn't we have seen? I loved the voices, don't get me wrong, I thought it was brilliant. Like Kanan was in there, Ahsoka was in there, Leia Sekua was in there, Anakin was in there, Mace Windu was in there, Yoda was in there. They were all in there, it was great. Why can't we have them as Force ghosts? They could have got actors to play Ahsoka Tano and that kind of thing, that would have been fine. But how cool would it have been to have had all these Force Ghost Sith and Force Ghost Jedi, or even if it wasn't the Sith ones, it was the Jedi ones, and they kind of, instead of it being deflected lightning, they pushed the Force back and the Force literally blew him away. That would have been much better. Or again, if we are setting up the fact that this dyad, this Reylu kind of thing, this Rey and Kylo relationship, why not have both of them stopping together, the light and the darkness, stopping the darkness and overcoming everything. And they win. They beat the Emperor, and apparently all those people in the background that were standing in the stalls. Now, I didn't like them either because you couldn't see what they were. It would have been amazing if they were all clones or if they were all red hooded people, but you couldn't see. You were like, are there people standing on that? Are they in like a stadium? It was just a bit unclear. It could have been built up better. It was just a bit and apparently it killed her. The Force lightning thing, it took all of her life energy out of her, but she doesn't fade because apparently she hasn't got closure. Ben comes and tries to save her, and he transfers the last of his life energy to her. Now, this is how they should have done this scene. He should have picked her up. He should have passed his Force energy on to him. As she's opening her eyes, he's kind of fading, and he fades into nothingness. Better scene. I don't like the kiss. I didn't feel there was any sort of romantic chemistry between the two of them. They felt more like brother and sister, which was more awkward than when Luke and Leia kissed in New Hope. But instead, why not have him? I like the fact that he gave his life, because all through these films, Kylo's character has wanted to be Vader, and he's thought he would never step up into the shoes of Vader. He'd never be as good as Vader, and he wanted to be Darkseid and be strong like Vader. But in all respects, he actually was Vader. He was He was good. He turned to the dark side. During the dark side, he decided to kill lots of people, and then it was love that brought him back, and he gave his life to save someone he loved. Brilliant arc. Great story. They've done it again with Kylo. Kylo's good, goes to the dark side, kills lots of people. He tries to get Rey to help him. He realizes he can't. He has this moment with her, and he redeems himself with his dad. He fights. He gives his life to save her. I like that mirrored imagery of him and Vader, and he actually did become Darth Vader. It's good character development in a sense. The problem is that it doesn't work with the kiss, and it doesn't work because if he isn't fading away instantly, she can still transfer some of her Force life to him. True? Or has she not got enough Force energy to transfer onto him? It's kind of like she thought, well, I won't save him. But what I did like about that scene is when he did actually fade, Leia faded. And it's almost like she had closure and she could pass on to the Force. And I do like that. That was a good idea and a good concept there. And then she gets in the X-Wing, they get out there, and they're all celebrating. And then we get that lovely scene where Chewie gets the medal. Absolutely love that scene. And then we get the end. And she travels back to Tatooine. I love the fact that she goes to Tatooine. This is where it all began. And she's in Tatooine, and she's at their house, and it's all covered in sand. I love that her theme plays as she gets the metal sheet, and she rides down the metal sheet. Throwback straight back to The Force Awakens. I loved all the scenes of the Star Destroyers falling to the ship. You can see them on Jakku. Very Return of the Jedi. I love the fact we saw Ewoks, where hey, my friend Swede and his girlfriend Sarah would love Ewoks. So happy on that. And then you get her burying the lightsabers, and I really do like that because you've got the twin suns, the binary sunset music. It all fits brilliantly, and she's kind of burying the past, which is kind of like Kylo told her to do. And then this random woman walks past, a trader kind of woman, which is that kind of a thing, and she says, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I'm Rey." And she's like, "Rey who?" And no one ever asks you your surname apparently in Star Wars until this film. And she's like, "Skywalker." And I love the fact she saw Luke and Leia. Now a lot of people said to me they wish that they saw Kylo then, because we didn't see him have closure. But I think if you're gonna have Luke, Leia and Kylo, you need to have Luke, Leia, Kylo, Darth. You need to have the whole lot there. Obi-Wan, you need to have everyone. But I think it made off more because of the moment she was doing it. She was burying their lightsabers, and this was Luke's home, and it was twin suns, and it was the twin lightsabers, and it was the twins there. I think that ending was brilliant. I think in regards to ending off the Skywalker saga, going back to Tatooine to bury that lightsaber there, to bury Leia's there, for you to see Luke and Leia as Force ghosts together again in peace, I think it would have been it was a perfect way to do it. And the other thing as well is the fact that we all know that Ben wasn't actually a Skywalker. I know his mom was, but he's solo. He's a solo. And it's good that he's passed on and he's probably with his dad, but then again, we don't know if his dad's a Force ghost. But anyway, I like the fact that it was Luke and Leia. A lot of people said they didn't. They think Kylo should have been there, but I disagree. I think he had passed on, and that's fab. He's done his thing. I love the ending scene, and then that brilliant shot of her BB-8 and her staff. Love the fact that her staff has a lightsaber. I've been saying for years her staff has got a twisty bit with a lightsaber on. Again, a very nice custom build maybe to attach a lightsaber end to one of her staffs. Might be a prop that comes out eventually in the channel. Who knows? And I love the fact they went for yellow lightsaber. Now, we haven't seen a yellow lightsaber since Revenge of the Sith or Attack of the Clones. One of the Jedi used it as well, and it's a great throwback because Sentinels are Jedis that use yellow lightsabers. Again, we've seen this in Rebels as well with the Guardians. And if you played any of the Force Awakens, any of the Knights of the Republic, or you know any of the Star Wars lore, you know that blue lightsaber users are very physical users of the Force. They're good mastery with lightsaber skills. The green lightsaber is all about those who are powerful and sensitive with the Force, and they can use the Force. They're powerful with the Force, like Yoda. And then you have yellow, which is a balance. And I like the fact that she went for balance, that the Jedi is no more. And when I saw the title Rise of Skywalker, I originally thought, and Kevin Smith brought this up as well, that Skywalker would be the new name for Jedis. It wouldn't be We're Training Jedis, because the Jedi Order was wrong. It would be Skywalker. But I like the fact that the darkness is gone, the light is gone, she's balanced. And it feels like, because at the end of Return of the Jedi, I always felt that, balance has been thing. Well, not really, because we still got Jedis now. So there's no Sith. And one of the first lines in Force Awakens is there cannot be no balance. Without the Jedi, there can be no balance. But if there's no Sith and no Jedi, there's no balance. But then it kind of goes against Luke's really awesome line at the end of The Last Jedi. I will not be the last Jedi. So it's kind of like, again, the problem is that I think 7, 8 and 9 have some of the best scenes in Star Wars. And if I did my top 10, which I may do, my top 10 favourite Star Wars moments, there would be moments probably not in top 10, say top 50. There would definitely be moments from Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi. These films all have wonderful moments. The problem is they're chock full of scenes together. It just feels really awkward. Now, again, like my spoiler-free review, and I'm coming to an end to this video now, guys, I really do like this film. And for me, I feel like I have closure at the end of this film. There's a lot of things wrong with this film, but I feel, again, the reason this film has a lot of failings is not just because of this film. If this film had more structure in 7 and 8, this would have been written differently. Some of these payoffs would have been done better. Don't get me wrong, like I've said in this video today, guys, there is a ton of things they could have done better in this film alone. There are tons of plot holes, but at the end of the day, I enjoy these films. I enjoy being in the Star Wars universe. A lot of people don't like episode 1, 2 and 3, and I watch them every year because technically, again, if you don't watch Star Wars every year, the Empire wins, so you kind of have to. It's the same with my mate. He always watches Lord of the Rings because he doesn't want Mordor to win. And this is one of those films I feel that has brilliant moments, but at the end of it, I always feel a bit frustrated. And even though I feel closure and I feel the Skywalker's done, I'm very, very excited to find out what happens with Star Wars now that the Skywalker saga is gone. Failure is the greatest teacher, after all, as Yoda said. And I'm looking forward to now the Skywalker saga is done. Let's look at new things. Like, I'm very excited to start watching The Mandalorian because I live in the UK, I can't watch The Mandalorian. But one of my favourite spin-off things from Star Wars, besides like Rebels, is Rogue One. I absolutely love that story. There wasn't a Jedi in sight. Loads of people are raving about The Mandalorian. And again, it's Star Wars has such an amazing philosophy and mythology and history and great ideas that this is far from done. It's like Harry Potter. It's not the last we're going to see of that world, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. If I'm honest, what I want to see now from the future, I want to see more of these spin-offs. I want to fill in the gaps maybe of some of the things. Obi-Wan, I'm really looking forward to because he's a great character. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. And I think I like Rogue One and I like The Mandalorian because they feel old school. Even more so than these 7, 8 and 9 did. I think Rogue One felt like I was watching a Star Wars film. And felt like 4, 5 and 6. And I feel from what people have said, and I know my friend Sam has said the same, is The Mandalorian feels really old school. And I'm looking forward to enjoying it. I've even got a Mandalorian Funko Pop off one of the kids in school gave me for Christmas. So I've got that. I don't even know anything about it. I've tried to stay off, and it's been really hard, guys, because there's Baby Yoda memes everywhere. I can't wait to find out what it's about. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this spoiler review. I'm a bit gutted because I had a few guests, a few friends of mine were going to come, and it would have been probably a better discussion. But thank you so much for joining the chat. It's been great talking to you. Because you're on the chat, I'm going to spoil you with a few videos that are coming up. I've got a ton of videos coming up. As you saw earlier, I managed to pick up this very cool D.O. Funko Pop, which I'm going to be unboxing for tomorrow's video. I've also picked up a few props. My good friend Sam will love this one because he was the one who sold it to me. But currently in the UK, if you live in the UK, there are a load of Black Series and Marvel Legends props are on offer. So I picked myself up the Ant-Man Marvel Legends helmet. So I'll be unboxing and reviewing that for you geeks. I've also picked myself up, and you probably love this because I've mentioned it in this video, the Black Series X-Wing helmet. So I'll be unboxing this bad boy and doing a full review on it. So happy I picked up this. And this at the moment on Amazon was £130. It's down to £60 or £65. So absolute steal for that one as well. In regards to custom builds, guys, I've got a few other things I've been deciding to do. I'm currently working on a Sith Wayfinder, the same one as you see in this film. I am working on the dagger from this film as well. Will be an upcoming prop I'm going to be making. I'm also going to be making the Sith Wayfinder, the dagger. I may be making some other props in the movie as well. I want to go and see the film again to write down some notes. And one of the things I like to do is to pick up the visual guide because it kind of shows you different pictures of those kind of props. And I want to make a few props. But guys, comment in the comment section right now if there's any major props from Star Wars you want me to make. Like I said, when I start watching The Mandalorian, I'm going to make some Mandalorian props. I'm just about to start watching, I might watch episode 1 tonight after this video, of The Witcher, which is on Netflix, so I may make some props from that. I've already got the Witcher necklace. I've also picked up Jedi Challenges, Lenovo's Jedi Challenges, and the VR AR experience. I'm going to be doing a full review on that as well. It is pretty awesome, and again, it's reduced at the moment down to like 70 quid. It's nice to be back on the channel, guys. I've had a crazy last 7 months. Work has been absolutely bonkers. George is 1 in 12 days, so I spent a lot of time with him. It's Christmas now as well, so trying to get a lot done. I'm going to do some Let's Play as well. I haven't picked it up yet, but I'm going to do some Let's Plays of Jedi Fallen Order over Christmas as well, so jump in and join me for that as well. I'm going to be sharing my Twitch stream with you as well soon, so you guys can jump in there, because I know a lot of you want me to play a bit more video games. If there's any retro video games for me you want me to play, for example, I'm going to be playing a ton of Battlefront 2, not Battlefront 2 on Xbox One, I'm going to be Battlefront 2, the original Xbox version, which I can't wait to do, and I may even wear my X-Wing helmet while doing it. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, if there's any props or any things you want me to build, please feel free to message on any of my videos, put them on there, give me some ideas to make things. Yeah, so guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like I said, the new video tomorrow will be unboxing Dio. I may even try to squeeze in the X-Wing helmet as well video tomorrow. The Lenovo's Jedi Challenges I'm going to review before Christmas. I'll get my Easter egg video as well up on the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, and there's we've also got Black Widow coming soon, so it's very likely I'll be doing some Black Widow props as well. But I'm going to try to look at props outside. I haven't done a lot of Star Wars props, so I want to focus a lot on Star Wars while Star Wars is fresh now. And then what I'm going to be doing is looking at different props from different movies. I may even look back at some previous movies. One prop I've always wanted in my man cave that I haven't got is a flux capacitor from Back to the Future. So if there's any old school props you'd like me to build, or any props you want me to review, or any products you want me to review, let me know in the comment section, guys, because I will get on to building them. And what I'm going to do as well, because obviously my man cave is getting full now, one of the things I'm going to start doing is sending props out as competitions and stuff for likes and comments. So if you like and comment any of the videos about the props I build, I will be sending some of them out to you guys as well, so you can actually have those props. I'm thinking as well, if my props do get quite, I get quite a lot of props, I'll be doing an Etsy store where also you can purchase props as well, which would be cool. I'm thinking about getting some Geek Man Cave merchandise as well, like Man Cave t-shirts. I think would be cool. Mouse mat kind of thing, that kind of thing. What do you guys think? Let me know. I'm going to talk to some artists to get some designs going, but I really want to push the channel out a bit more, do a lot more content. Now my baby Love Him is growing up a bit, it's easier to do content. So guys, that's about it from me. If I don't see you, well, I probably will see you, because I'll be sending up. You'll see me, but I probably won't see you. Guys, have an amazing Christmas. There'll be a video dropping on Christmas Day, talking about different geek stuff and talking about things that's coming on the content in 2020 as well. Do all of it. Do it. That's the other thing as well, which makes you think as well. And one thing I didn't pick up in this thing, thanks Ben for mentioning that, is the fact that one of the things that really stressed me out was that it was Rey's grandfather, which means that if we look at the image of Rey's dad, now I've only seen this film once, so I've only seen a glimpse. He does not look like the age he should be, because really he would be Luke's age, which means if he had the Emperor has him when he was Luke's age, that means he would have done it when he was the Emperor in a throne, when he was all. I would have thought it would have been better for him to have it before Anakin and Mace had turned him into the evil-looking Emperor. It would have been it should have been his great granddaughter or his descendant instead of my granddaughter, which means he's done the nasty, like as the Emperor, all hooded, cloaked, and kind of. It just feels a bit. And who's Mrs. Emperor? That's the other thing. So I think, again, that's something that could be looked at in the future, but there we go. Anyway, geeks. Hour 24 minutes discussion. Thank you for joining in. Big shout out to Ben Solo, Sam Cooper, Apex, Rascally Rabbit, who else? Jacob Lazenby joined the thing, and Bruce Wayne for joining the chat as well. Thank you so much, guys, for joining the chat. It's been wonderful chatting to you about Star Wars. Again, message me on the channel, comment in the comment section on any of my videos. Drop me a message. Love to chat to you about more props you want me to make, or more things you want me to do on the channel, what kind of videos you want to see. But yeah, guys, remember, it's your cave, your rules, and I will see you on the next video. Later, geeks.